Hi, I'm Spyder. I'm back for my 26th session. I got 26 minutes and some odd seconds to do this, okay? So anyway, I just wanted to, say that this will be my last session. I've said that many times before, but this will be for probably some time now because it's spring. It's trying to be spring here. The wind is blowing like crazy. It's only 8 degrees in Halifax, and so I just wanted to say that I'm gonna, pack it up for a bit and stay away from YouTube for a way. I'm probably gonna upgrade my, add more to my Facebook page, but Spyder's proposing the CFL Red-Zone Rule Facebook on Facebook page, and I'm gonna just take a break from YouTube sessions for probably spring, summer, unless something really exciting happens, but I pretty well laid out everything that I'm going to do, okay, on my previous session. So I just want to say from my last session, with 25 session, special edition for Mr. Bob Young, the caretaker that I did a special edition for, which was unbelievable, on my CFL Red-Zone Rule presentation, just for him, that I met in person. I made a few stumbles, okay, I'm sorry about that. There was, it wasn't a big deal, but on the part 10, on the numbers, the big numbers, on the main objectives, features, benefits, advantages of my CFL Red-Zone Rule on my presentation part, when I did the 68.5% of average percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams, there would be 353 touchdowns scored in the red zone. I skipped that part and went to that, on the 68.5%, there would be 70 more touchdowns scored for a total of 280 more points. So that's the only thing I actually read over and didn't actually read. But I think you got the gist of it, because I think what's most important is the 70 more touchdowns on that 25% increase that's obtainable, and achievable with my Spyder CFL Red-Zone Rule. So that's all I want to talk about, the numbers, but they're compelling and powerful numbers. And even on my presentation, there's parts I could have probably, for Mr. Bob Young, been more enthusiastic, but I was jumping. When I did my 10 super features and benefits, that last one, number 10, I should have said, wow, is that powerful, when I talked about how our third down is going to be so more powerful than their fourth down. And I should have really I'll give it now a zinger. And then I just skipped right over to the 10 super features and benefits. That was on my presentation part. Okay. So anyway, oh, and also at the end, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. But I was really pressed for time. I really was, and I don't know how I could do that over and over. I do live takes. I'm not going to do it because I just make more and more mistakes. Okay, and at the end, I said, at the Tim Hortons Field this year, 2019 CFL Games Live. Chant loud in the red zone when. Okay, I should have did this. I want to do this. When Spyder's CFL Red-Zone Rule, complemented by Spyder's new compatible CFL Red-Zone kick. So I should have had this on the monitor, or this up on my tablet saying, so football fans, if you want no more distasteful second down stops in the red zone, 2 down stops in the red zone, I said here, in the red zone, and no more boring, predictable, non-eventful easy chip shot field goals in the red zone in the CFL. Chant loud in the red zone, we want Spyder's CFL Red-Zone Rule. That's what I wanted to do, but I didn't have enough time, and I messed up a bit. I had to rush it, so I was stumbling and speed talking, so I didn't get all my words in properly. And in the end, I said, we'll see you at the 207th grade cup. I couldn't believe I said that. I meant to say the 107th grade cup, of course. I think you can fill in the blanks, but I'm not going to do it over for just those few mistakes. I'm not doing it. Okay, so fill in the blanks. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So that's that for that. So I want to get into this last session, number 26, okay, and it's on the CBA, okay, wrap up, okay. That's finally ratified by the owners and the players, and I I'm going to call this, you know, my Part 26 CBA only about money, and the commish for Canadian players, not owners, and not for the fans either. I just read something in 3 Down Nation, and you know, Mr. Ambrosi said, oh, it was a great fair agreement and we want to be partners. Yeah, that's an understatement. That's a bunch of crap. I'll just say this much, okay? Okay, I'll just say this much. I'm going to go over what the players got. Okay, the Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association, because they're made up of carefully selected Canadian linemen like Ramsey and Keeping, the president, vice president. I mean, it was really a scam, a real sting they pulled off. And you know when they supposedly start the negotiations, they said in principle that they were going to reduce the Canadian ratio from 7 to 5. They agreed that that's, the owners wanted it. The owners stated that they wanted, it was reported they wanted it eliminated, the Canadian starter ratio, completely. And I hoped they would want the guaranteed Canadian roster ratio eliminated completely as well. But they wanted the Canadian starter ratio eliminated, not reduce them, eliminate the owners. But guess what? Ramsey, Keeping, and the Canadian players, Ramsey, Keeping their guaranteed Canadian ratio alignment they screwed the CFL, because when they're back to negotiate, and the owners, when they get back to and the fans, when they get back to the negotiating table, what happened for that they agreed in principle, okay, to reduce the Canadian starter ratio from 5 to 7 when it should have been completely eliminated. What happened to that? So then they pull a fast one. It wasn't the CFL. They pull a fast one, because then apparently the CFL wanted then, if they weren't going to go for that, they wanted like, if American players 3 or 4 years, 3 years with one CFL team or 4 years with different teams, then they would count as a national and count on the starting ratio. And yeah, why? They're not going to give them, reduce it from 7 to 5, so they want it now 3. Okay, if you know American players, call them veteran American race or something, which they get screwed on. Ramsey, Keeping, and the Canadian players, so you screwed them. You screwed the CFL on that. You let them down the garden path and you screwed them. You screwed them in the whole deal. And guess what? As long as the CFL is being run, okay, by the Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association, which is made up of carefully selected Canadian O-linemen, guaranteed ratio Canadian O-linemen, grossly overpaid and terribly overrated, guaranteed ratio O-lineman like Keeping and the president, and Ramsey, his second-hand man, okay, his vice president, whatever title he has, I don't even care. And they're controlling they're dictating control who starts and plays in the CFL with their guaranteed Canadian starter ratio and their huge roster ratio. They guaranteed who's on the roster too, with the guaranteed Canadian roster ratio. The CFL is in serious trouble. They're going down. And I'm going to read something that someone just posted up on this, okay, after this thing was done. And this is a person that's really smart. I won't give his name, but I'll read what he said. And he posted on 3 Down Nation, okay, on the Canadian ratio staying the same, and the CBA agreement that's now ratified. This is what he said. As long as the CFL maintained the discriminatory Canadian ratio and roster ratio rule, okay, Canadian roster ratio rule, those are guaranteed, by the way. Canadian starter and Canadian roster ratio rules are guaranteed spots and starting spots, roster spots and starting spots on the CFL team. He says the CFL will continue to suffer and fans will continue to stay away. Look at the empty seats, okay? Look at the enormous amount of empty seats. Thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of empty seats. He says the CFL, this is what he says, is a unique Canadian game because of 110 yards, okay, the length of the field. Then he says the width of the field, which is 65. And then he says the motion. This is all unique to our game. 12 men, the waggle, the rouge, so forth. And he says, not the Canadian talent, okay? And so he's comparing what's unique to our game. He says, not the Canadian talent. And he said, if Canadian players aren't good enough to make a CFL roster, then why punish the Canadian sports fans or CFL fans? Why punish us, okay? So Keeping and Ramsey, vice president, okay, you know, and president, both, like I said, carefully selected guaranteed ratio O-linemen, and the Canadian players, you know, they threatened to strike. unless they got what they wanted. Right at the end, the last hour of midnight, they did that because of this baloney. Only the language on the original agreement of the American veteran ratio that would change the guaranteed Canadian starter ratio. Yeah, and it should. But they screwed them. So of course the Canadian Players and Basic Canadian Players Association got it changed when they agreed originally reducing the Canadian starter ratio from 7 to 5. That Ramsey and keeping the Canadian players reneged on. They're the ones who reneged on that. They screwed the owners. But you know what, owners? You're screwing yourselves. You've got to stand up. I was hoping you'd let them go and strike. Let them strike. Bring in all new American rookie players. New quarterbacks. Screw you. I'm sorry. Screw the quarterbacks in the CFL making $750,000 when they're taking all the money when the American rookies should be paid $70,000 or $80,000. They're being screwed, and you don't need that kind of money. Put a cap on it. I hate to say it, $500,000 max for any CFL quarterback, or go somewhere else. Go to the Arena Football League. Okay? I mean, you know, this is unbelievable. So the owners, okay, they are really screwed, okay? They really got screwed on this new CBA agreement because what the hell did the owners get? But more debt. The Canadian players said they said they don't want to bankrupt the owners and the league, even though there are only 3 teams out of 9 that made profit, and they admitted that. It was Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Regina. They actually get all their books, okay, financial statements, so they know. Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association, Basic Canadian Players Association, they want to grow. They said they want to grow the league, but the real truth is they only want to grow their bank accounts and fill their pockets. They just want to rob the CFL. They don't care if the CFL stays in business. They don't care about all the empty seats. They just care about money. Only money. That's it. Here's what the Canadian Players and Basic Canadian Players Association got in the new CFL agreement. Only a 3-year deal, not a 5-year, by the way. $50,000 increase in salary cap each year for each year, up to 3 years. Minimum salary stays the same. Okay, $54,000 for 2019, then jumps to $65,000 in 2020 and 2021. That should have went actually higher for the rookie American rookies to $70,000, and the quarterbacks and Canadian guaranteed ratio linemen getting $250,000. Now they got to take it from their pockets that are robbing these rookie players. Okay. And but see, they're not part of the association to vote. That's the problem here. The 3-year deal expires and the TSN CFL TV contract expire, of course. Of course. They are all and only about money, the Canadian Players and Basic Canadian Players Association, and not growing the league in the CFL. That's a bunch of bullshit. They're a bunch of liars. That's all they are, is they want to rob whatever's left in the piggy bank of the CFL. They want to rob every cent out of their coffins, of the CFL owners' coffins and the CFL. They want to basically bankrupt the CFL. Well, they're doing a pretty good job. And with this new agreement, it's going to be worse for the owners, and there's going to be less and less fans in the stands. CFL is in big trouble with this ridiculous, scam that the Canadian players and their Canadian Players Association pulled off. It's unbelievable. Then they went at 50%. Now they're going to get 20% revenue sharing over and above on the TV deal. And when TSN increases, okay, their TV deal, I don't think they will, by the way. I don't know how they can. Look at the ratings are down. Look at CFL viewers last year in the Grey Cup. I mean, the Grey Cup was down 1 million viewers, okay, last year. It's unbelievable. And the playoff Eastern Final was down 50%, and the Western down 35%. Come on. And they want increased revenue from the CFL 2.0 provides, okay? And medical coverage, they want it probably 10 or 15. They got 3 years from 1 year to, okay, increasing the 3 years. Okay, so, and they're causing illegal hits and causing the serious injuries. And they're going to get 3 years now for not 1 year. Okay? The Canadian ratio will remain the same throughout the duration of CBA agreement. Of course, it was supposed to be changed. The owners wanted it, Canadian star ratio gone. And then decided on they reduced it from 7 to 5, and of course they got screwed. The owners got screwed. It's not going to change. It's unbelievable. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. Okay, Canadian quarterbacks now only count, of course, part of the Canadian starting ratio if they start. Isn't that ridiculous? Of course. They wouldn't make it if he was a third string part of the Canadian starter ratio. They wouldn't do that. Oh no. Again, the owners get screwed. The American players, I went over that, 3 of the 7, no I didn't, international starters must play 3 years or for one quarantine of 4 years in the CFL. Okay? And of course, they got screwed on that. I mean, that's going to make it even worse, because now you're going to have a guaranteed new one ratio. Okay, by the way, there's also a guaranteed new international roster ratio of 1 player, and it doesn't affect the American or the Canadian ratio, and that's for this year. Next year there's going to be 2. Okay, and by the way, the Stamps training camp, one of them didn't even show up. Decided didn't want to come. There you go, Mr. Ambrosi. So now the CFL has a guaranteed Canadian starter ratio and half the CFL roster ratio. That's guaranteed. The Canadian roster, half of it's guaranteed for Canadian players, and now a guaranteed 3 starting American veteran ratio, and now a guaranteed international ratio. When there should be no ratio, period, like every other professional sports league, like in the NHL, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and yes, MLS soccer. Can you believe this? No wonder the CFL is dying, our 3-down game of football, and the CFL is dying as a 3-down professional football, well, the so-called professional football league. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. So here's another one. No more unpaid bonuses to lead up to the new CFL agreement in the 3-year contract. Of course they get rid of that. Everything's all about money with them. Money, 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 money. That's all it's about. All it's about. Rookie salary will now be $85,000 for the first overall pick, and that's guaranteed, I guess, even if he's no good. Even if he's not even good enough to make the team. It's unbelievable. It's all the Canadian ratio thing. It's unbelievable. This is just making me sick, really. NFL window, of course, is still in effect, but it's worse. Now, every year, CFL players can pursue the NFL. Every year. Of course, they still have their 1-year contracts in effect. So there's no continuity here. And they said they want to be partners and grow the CFL, grow the league. Give me a break. It's a scam. It's a big sting. And it's robbery, really. And the owners are being screwed. So what the CFL and the owners get? They got nothing, but they got screwed. They got nothing. Nothing will change as long as the CFL and the owners allow the Canadian players and the basic Canadian Players Association made up of carefully selected, terribly overrated and grossly overpaid, like $220,000, $250,000 guaranteed Canadian starting ratio alignment to control and run the CFL. Who starts and plays in the CFL? Starts and plays in the CFL with their controlling, handcuffing, dictating, guaranteed Canadian starter and huge, unrealistic and unattainable guaranteed Canadian roster ratio. Yeah, there it is. And when you have a very political CFL commissioner, okay, who was also a guaranteed Canadian starting ratio lineman in the CFL as the commissioner, who belonged to the Canadian Players Association before and fought the CFL and the owners on the Canadian ratio when they wanted Canadian starting ratio gone, like they wanted it gone this time, and who is obviously with the Canadian player. Ambrosi, you're with the Canadian players, not with the owners or the fans. You're in bed with the Canadian players and keeping and Ramsey and the Canadian Players Association. You know, he wasn't even negotiating Ambrosi at the table for the owners. He was in Mexico. Okay, and then you have on the negotiating team, he has Miller, CEO of Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Okay, negotiating for the owner. Come on, give me a break. He was a guaranteed Canadian ratio player too for the Bombers. And then the coach was, you know, also the Bombers coach, O'Shea, and the general manager. He is too guaranteed ratio player. And that's why Dixon called them the Canadian Mafia when the Stampeders in the Western Final last year was clearly being screwed and cheated by the commissioner, the CFL, and you know, they were being screwed in the Western Final when they were caught with 2 blatant that were good touchdowns that were scored that were called back. They were called back and they were good touchdowns. They called them back deliberately to try to have Winnipeg Blue Bombers win. I'm sorry, I'm telling it the way it is. And Brosy, you did nothing for the owners. And when the Red Blacks coach Campbell said the Canadian starter ratio needs to change, when he indicated that there's now 20 plus Canadian players, top Canadian players, and counting in the NFL now. And he said it's almost a whole CFL starting team. You know, it's unbelievable. The owners wanted, okay, like I said before, they wanted to eliminate the Canadian starter ratio completely. Not from 7, they were reduced from 7 to 5. They wanted it gone, and look what happened. Okay, and by the way, from this reducing of 7 to 5, the Canadian Players Association, they flip-flopped in the CFL owners. Good job, Ambrosi. So much for what you said in sports then about, okay, in the league, you said about survival. It's not good enough, and they said the owners put a lot of money in their franchise, and they need a good return, a good profit. So we got to change. He said we got to make our CFL getting better. He said there's now the last 10 years there's like 100,000 less Canadian players in minor football, college and high school football playing football in Canada. So that's why, you know, he was basically saying that the Canadian ratio has to change. And now, you know, Ambrosi, the NFL window and the only contract, 322 free agents still in place, whereas Calgary and Ottawa and Edmonton, their teams were practically depleted, gone, completely changed. And for Calgary was pretty well gone, like half their team, starting team, they kept Von Mitchell was trying to go to the NFL. Yeah, I heard what he said, that he could win a Super Bowl. Yeah, he really wanted to go in the NFL, not just like all the players want to. They don't give a shit about the CFL. It's just a backup plan. That's all it is. So the CFL owners and the GMs and coaches cannot recruit the best and most talented available players to start in the CFL at every position for an entire CFL game. It's the same. So they can't play the best American receivers. You know, they can't. They can't play the best American O-linemen. They can't play the best American players in other positions for an entire CFL game. Start and play them. They can't do it. Okay, but instead, the Canadian players and basic Canadian Players Associations can still go freely, no restrictions placed on them, freely to the NFL, okay, and with their non-committing only one-year contracts, okay, and even though there's a Canadian ratio in place, the Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association control and dictate still who starts and plays in the CFL with their guaranteed Canadian ratio. This is your CFL, and this is exactly why there are so many empty seats throughout the CFL, and the Montreal ready to fold. That is going to even get worse, okay? Because how long is Toronto and BC going to put up with this, or Hamilton and all the other teams? Only 3 teams made a profit. Ottawa didn't make a profit. Calgary didn't make a profit. They won the Grey Cup. You can't have a so-called professional football league and expect to be successful with this kind of ridiculous structure like that. And you see the results. You see the results. And this is exactly what was happening. It's unbelievable. You can't have the Canadian players and their basic Canadian Players Association made up of carefully selected guaranteed ratio linemen and their president and their vice president running the CFL and dictating who starts and plays in the CFL. And that's what you still have. And that's why the CFL is going nowhere. It's fast, and it's going to be in even further trouble, teams financially. And right now, what I understand is Montreal, the owners and the CFL are basically paying the bills. They're running the team, or they'd be out of business. They'd be out of it, gone. Okay, bankrupt, gone. So there you go. There's the real truth, and it's very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. And you know, as a CFL fan, you know, I'm realistic. I've been watching CFL a long time. I've been to many Grey Cups. I've been in pretty well every CFL stadium in the CFL, and I know, I've been based on my survey, and I know what's going on in the market, the professional football market in Canada. You know, I learned a lot from my survey. And that's why the CFL has to change, and if they don't allow the best available players, which they're not going to be able to in 3 years, to play, start and play at every position for entire CFL game, okay, without being handcuffed by a guaranteed Canadian starter ratio and roster ratio, and allow the best available players to play in the CFL at every position, okay, and the most talented players at every position, and have the best rules, and like I said, my combo, and have the Spyder CFL Red-Zone Rule, okay, made part of a CFL 3-down game, then the CFL is going to continue to run downward, and they're going to be in serious, serious trouble. So I'm going to leave you now, and I'm going to put these all up, 4 of them actually, 23, 24, 25, and 26. And remember, at a live CFL game, okay, and on the 107th Grey Cup, I want to hear you chanting loud in the red zone. If you don't want any more undesirable second down stops and any more boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone, I want to hear you chanting loud in the red zone. We want Spyder CFL Red-Zone Rule. We want Spyder CFL Red-Zone Rule. Check out my Facebook page. I'm going to keep adding and watch all my Spyder CFL Red-Zone Rule YouTube sessions. So signing off. See you probably around the bend, okay, soon. Okay? Take care of yourself. Spyder.